The wrestling world is a stage of grandeur, where stories of triumph and tragedy unfold under glaring lights. But behind every cheer, every choreographed move, and every championship belt lies a reality far more complex than what meets the eye. This is the story of Amy Weber, a woman who dared to step into this world, bringing with her a spirit that could neither be confined nor silenced. Born into an era where women in professional wrestling were often overlooked or objectified, Amy Weber entered the ring as more than just a competitor. She was a dreamer, a fighter, and a rebel who refused to be defined by the limitations imposed on her. From her small-town beginnings to the grand stage of professional wrestling, her journey would test her resilience and determination in ways few could imagine. The story begins in the shadows, where young Amy, a girl with boundless energy and big dreams, spent hours imagining herself in a world far from her reality. She wasn't just a child captivated by the allure of wrestling. She was an observer, taking in every detail of the matches on her television screen, analyzing the moves, and imagining how she would one day make her mark. Her fascination wasn't just with the wrestlers themselves, but with the art of storytelling that wrestling embodied: the drama, the conflict, and the glory. As the camera fades into images of her humble beginnings, a voiceover recounts the challenges of her early life. Amy didn't come from a family of privilege. Her parents worked tirelessly to provide for her and her siblings, instilling in her a sense of grit and perseverance. There were times when life was hard, but Amy found solace in her dreams. The wrestling ring became a symbol of escape and aspiration, a place where she could imagine herself as more than just a small-town girl. Through interviews with her childhood friends, the documentary paints a vivid picture of young Amy, a girl who was unyieldingly determined and fiercely independent. She would often stage makeshift wrestling matches in her backyard, using whatever props she could find. Amy was always fearless. One childhood friend recalls, she didn't care if the boys told her wrestling wasn't for girls. She'd take them on, and more often than not, she'd win. The introduction transitions to the challenges of entering the wrestling industry as a woman during Amy's time. Wrestling, dominated by men, was a battleground not just in the ring, but in the boardrooms and training centers. It wasn't enough to be talented. One had to be resilient against a tide of sexism and preconceived notions. Amy, however, was undeterred. Her first step onto the wrestling mat was more than just a move toward a career. It was a declaration of intent. She was here to fight, to inspire, and to claim her space in an unforgiving world. The narrative shifts to Amy's first audition for a wrestling program, juxtaposed against her internal struggles. The room was filled with skeptics, people who doubted her abilities and questioned her motives. But Amy's passion was undeniable. When she stepped into the ring, it wasn't just her physical prowess that stood out, but the fire in her eyes, the unrelenting belief that she belonged there. The section closes with a dramatic scene. Amy standing in an empty arena, looking out at rows of empty seats. She clutches the ropes of the ring, her mind racing with possibilities. This moment, filled with both fear and anticipation, sets the tone for her journey ahead, a story of triumphs, setbacks, and the unyielding spirit of a woman who dared to dream beyond the confines of her circumstances. Amy Weber's story begins far from the glitz and chaos of the wrestling ring. Born in a modest neighborhood in Peoria, Illinois, she grew up in a family where hard work wasn't just a value, it was a necessity. Her father worked long hours in a factory, and her mother balanced multiple part-time jobs to keep the household running. Money was always tight, but the Webers were a close-knit family, bound by love and resilience. From an early age, Amy displayed a spark that set her apart. She was restless, curious, and fiercely independent, while other children were content with following the rules. Amy had an unshakable tendency to question them. She would often get into arguments with teachers and classmates, not out of defiance, but because she was determined to understand the why behind every rule and expectation. Her love for wrestling began during her childhood when she stumbled upon a wrestling match on television late one night. The larger-than-life characters, the adrenaline-pumping action, and the sheer drama captivated her. But it wasn't just a spectacle that intrigued her. It was a wrestler's ability to command attention, to tell a story with their movements and expressions. Amy didn't see it as a sport or entertainment. She saw it as an art form. Her parents, however, had other dreams for her. They envisioned her pursuing a stable career, one that would offer security and predictability, concepts that clash with Amy's ever-growing fascination with wrestling. I could see it in her eyes. Her mother would later recall the way she lit up when she talked about wrestling. But I worried for her. It wasn't an easy life, especially for a girl. Amy's teenage years were a whirlwind of challenges and self-discovery. In high school, she was an outsider, a girl who didn't quite fit into the conventional molds of popularity or conformity. She was athletic, but not interested in traditional sports. She was intelligent, but often clashed with authority figures. And while her peers were preoccupied with dances and social cliques, Amy spent her free time studying wrestling moves, emulating her heroes in front of a mirror. It wasn't long before her determination turned into action. At the age of 16, Amy saved up enough money to attend her first live wrestling event. It was a defining moment in her life. As she watched the wrestlers perform, she felt an indescribable connection to the energy of the ring, the roaring crowd, the theatrical entrances, the emotional highs and lows. It all felt like home. That night, Amy would later say, "I knew what I was meant to do. I didn't care how impossible it seemed. I was going to become a wrestler." Her first steps toward that dream were met with resistance. When Amy expressed her desire to join a wrestling academy, her parents were hesitant. They worried about the physical toll, the financial uncertainty, and the cultural barriers she would face as a woman in the industry. But Amy was relentless. She worked part-time jobs to save money for training, often sneaking out to attend wrestling workshops without her parents' knowledge. Her early mentors played a crucial role in shaping her path. At a local wrestling gym, she met Coach Mark Daniels, a retired wrestler who recognized her raw talent and unmatched determination. He saw in Amy a fire that couldn't be extinguished. She was rough around the edges, Daniels recalled, but she had something you can't teach: heart. Under Daniels' guidance, Amy learned the fundamentals of wrestling. The training was grueling, both physically and mentally. She often found herself doubting her abilities, questioning whether she was strong enough to endure the relentless cycle of drills, matches, and critiques. But every time she felt like giving up, she would think back to that night at the wrestling event, the moment she knew she was destined for this path. Amy's resilience wasn't limited to the gym. She faced judgment and skepticism from her peers, many of whom dismissed her dreams as unrealistic or impractical. But she refused to let their doubts define her. Instead, she used their skepticism as fuel, pushing herself harder and proving them wrong at every turn. As the section progresses, the focus shifts to the pivotal moments that shaped her early journey. One such moment came when she participated in her first amateur wrestling tournament. Though she was nervous and inexperienced, Amy's performance was electrifying. She didn't win the match, but she won the respect of the audience and her competitors. For the first time, she felt validated, not just as a wrestler, but as someone who could command attention and respect in the ring. The section ends with Amy standing at a crossroads. She had laid the foundation for her dream, but the road ahead was still uncertain. Wrestling had given her a sense of purpose and identity, but it had also exposed her to the harsh realities of the industry. As she prepared to take the next step in her journey, She knew one thing for certain. She was ready to fight for her place in the world, no matter the cost. Amy Weber's entry into the professional wrestling world was anything but smooth. After completing her initial training, she realized the real challenge was breaking into an industry notorious for its cutthroat competition and rigid hierarchies. The world of wrestling wasn't just a physical battlefield. It was a relentless test of character, patience, and adaptability. Her first break came in the form of a small regional wrestling promotion that catered to local crowds in dimly lit arenas and community centers. These venues lacked the grandeur of the televised matches she had dreamed of, but they offered her something invaluable, a chance to prove herself. The crowds were smaller, the pay was minimal, and the conditions were far from glamorous. Yet, to Amy, these matches were a proving ground. She started as a jobber, a term used to describe wrestlers whose role is to lose matches to make their opponents look stronger. It was a humbling experience, but Amy approached it with a professional mindset. Every loss was a lesson. She later said, "I learned how to sell moves, how to connect with the crowd, and how to make every moment in the ring count." These early matches were grueling, both physically and emotionally. The physical toll of wrestling was unlike anything she had experienced during training. Her body bore the bruises and strains of endless hours in the ring, and she often struggled to recover between matches. Financially, the situation was equally tough. She lived paycheck to paycheck, often sacrificing meals to save money for travel and gear. Despite these challenges, Amy's charisma and determination began to set her apart. Her unique ability to engage the audience, even in defeat, didn't go unnoticed. Promoters began to see her potential, and she started to receive opportunities to showcase her skills in more competitive matches. It was during one of these matches that she caught the attention of a talent scout from a mid-tier wrestling promotion. The scout, a seasoned veteran named Jack Reynolds, saw something in Amy that others had overlooked. She wasn't just a performer. She was a storyteller. Her ability to convey emotion, her agility in the ring, and her unwavering determination made her a standout in a sea of aspiring wrestlers. Reynolds offered her a chance to join his promotion, a stepping stone to larger platforms. Amy accepted the offer, fully aware that this was a critical turning point in her journey. The new promotion came with higher stakes and greater exposure. She was no longer wrestling in front of a few dozen fans in small-town venues. The crowds were larger, the matches more competitive, and the expectations significantly higher. Her first match in the new promotion was a mixed tag team bout, a format she had never competed in before. Paired with a veteran wrestler, she was tasked with playing the role of an underdog. The storyline was simple. Amy, the newcomer, would face insurmountable odds, but ultimately prove her worth through sheer grit and determination. It was a role she embraced wholeheartedly, as it mirrored her real-life journey. The match was a turning point. Amy's performance was electrifying, drawing cheers and applause from the crowd. Her opponents, both seasoned performers, praised her ability to stay composed and deliver under pressure. More importantly, the match established her as a rising star within the promotion. For the first time, she felt like she belonged. As Amy's reputation grew, so did her opportunities. She began to develop her in-ring persona, a crucial aspect of professional wrestling. Drawing inspiration from her own life, she crafted a character that resonated with audiences, a fierce, unapologetic underdog who refused to back down. Her promos, delivered with raw emotion and authenticity, became one of her strongest assets. Fans connected with her on a personal level, seeing in her a reflection of their own struggles and aspirations. However, the journey was far from easy. The wrestling world was rife with politics and favoritism, And Amy often found herself navigating a minefield of egos and rivalries. There were moments when she felt overshadowed by more established performers or frustrated by the lack of creative opportunities. But instead of letting these obstacles deter her, she used them as motivation to work harder and prove her worth. Amy's turning point came during a high-stakes tournament within the promotion. The winner would receive a championship opportunity, a coveted prize that could catapult a wrestler's career to new heights. The tournament was grueling, featuring multiple matches over the course of several weeks. Amy entered as an underdog, facing opponents who were stronger, faster, and more experienced, but she had something they didn't: an unrelenting drive to succeed. Each match in the tournament was a test of her endurance, skill, and mental fortitude. From high-flying maneuvers to grueling submission holds, Amy pushed herself to the limit, delivering performances that left both fans and critics in awe. Her semi-final match against a top-tier competitor was particularly memorable, showcasing her ability to blend technical prowess with emotional storytelling. Though she ultimately lost in the finals, her performance solidified her status as one of the promotion's brightest stars. The section concludes with Amy reflecting on her journey so far. The road had been anything but smooth, but every challenge, every setback, and every hard-fought victory had shaped her into the wrestler she was becoming. She knew the journey ahead would be even more demanding, but she was ready to face it head-on. For Amy Weber, the beginning of her journey was more than just a chapter in her story. It was a foundation of a legacy she was determined to build. Amy Weber's rise to prominence in the wrestling world was a combination of relentless determination, innate talent, and impeccable timing. After years of paying her dues in smaller promotions and proving herself as a reliable and dynamic performer, Amy was ready for the next big step: the world stage. Her journey to fame was not a straight path. It was a winding road of opportunities, challenges, and breakthroughs that defined her as both a wrestler and a person. The opportunity that would change Amy's life came unexpectedly. A scout from one of the largest wrestling organizations in the world, World Wrestling Federation, WWF, now WWE, had been monitoring her performances, known for recognizing rising talent. The organization offered her a developmental contract. It was an offer she couldn't refuse, a chance to perform on the biggest stage, in front of millions of fans worldwide. For Amy, it was the culmination of years of hard work and sacrifice. When Amy arrived at the developmental training center, she was struck by the sheer scale and professionalism of the operation. The state-of-the-art facilities, the seasoned trainers, and the presence of wrestling legends were both inspiring and intimidating. This was a different world, where the stakes were higher, the competition fiercer, and the margin for error razor-thin. Amy knew she had to rise to the occasion. Her first few weeks in the developmental program were grueling. The training was intense, pushing her body and mind to their limits. She spent countless hours perfecting her moves, working on her in-ring psychology, and honing her promo skills. Every session was an opportunity to prove herself, not just to the trainers but to her peers. Amy quickly earned a reputation as one of the hardest working talents in the program. Her drive and focus set her apart, and it wasn't long before she caught the attention of the creative team. Amy's main roster debut was planned with great care. Wrestling wasn't just about athleticism. It was about storytelling. Her character needed to resonate with the audience, to create an emotional connection that would keep fans invested in her journey. Drawing from her real-life experiences, Amy worked closely with the creative team to develop a persona that embodied her resilience and determination. The result was a character who was both relatable and aspirational, a fighter who overcame adversity to achieve greatness. Her debut match aired on a live television broadcast, an event watched by millions of viewers. The build-up was intense, with weeks of promotional vignettes introducing her to the audience. The match itself was a high-energy spectacle, showcasing Amy's athleticism, charisma, and ability to tell a compelling story in the ring. The crowd's reaction was electric, and by the end of the match, it was clear that Amy had made an impact. As Amy's career progressed, she became a fan favorite, known for her high-energy performances and emotional storytelling. Her matches were more than just physical contests. They were narratives that drew the audience in and kept them on the edge of their seats. Whether she was playing the role of an underdog or a fiery challenger, Amy had a unique ability to connect with the crowd, making them feel every punch, every slam, and every victory. Her first major storyline came when she was pitted against one of the company's top female wrestlers in a heated rivalry. The storyline revolved around themes of respect and ambition, with Amy playing the role of the hungry newcomer determined to prove herself. The feud culminated in a high-profile match at one of the company's biggest pay-per-view events. The match was a show-stealer, earning critical acclaim for its storytelling and athleticism. Though Amy didn't win, her performance elevated her status and established her as a legitimate contender in the women's division. As her star continued to rise, Amy became a role model for fans around the world. Her story of perseverance and self-belief resonated with people from all walks of life. She was invited to appear on talk shows, participate in charity events, and represent the company at promotional events. Despite her busy schedule, Amy remained grounded, always taking time to connect with her fans and give back to the community. One of the defining moments of Amy's career came when she won her first championship title. The match was a culmination of months of build-up, with Amy overcoming numerous obstacles to earn her shot at the title. The match itself was a roller coaster of emotions, with near falls, dramatic reversals, and a finish that left the crowd roaring. When the referee's hand hit the mat for the 3 count, Amy fell to her knees, overcome with emotion, holding the championship belt high above her head. She looked out at the cheering crowd, knowing she had achieved her dream. The rise to fame wasn't without its challenges. Amy faced criticism from skeptics who doubted her abilities and questioned her place in the industry. The pressure to perform at a high level, combined with the physical demands of wrestling, took a toll on her body and mind. There were times when she felt overwhelmed, but she never let it show. Amy's resilience and work ethic became her trademarks, earning her the respect of her peers and the admiration of her fans. Her achievements extended beyond the ring. Amy became an advocate for women's empowerment in the wrestling industry, speaking out about the challenges faced by female wrestlers and pushing for greater representation and opportunities. She used her platform to inspire others, proving that success was possible through hard work and determination. The section closes with Amy standing at the peak of her career, a symbol of perseverance and triumph. Her journey from a small-town dreamer to a global wrestling superstar was a testament to her unyielding spirit. But as she would soon discover, the higher the climb, the greater the challenges that awaited her. At the height of her fame, Amy Weber appeared unstoppable. She was a household name in the wrestling world, a fan favorite, and a symbol of resilience. Yet, beneath the glitz and glamour of her career lay a series of challenges that would test her resolve in ways she had never imagined. The very qualities that made her a star, her determination, vulnerability, and willingness to take risks, also left her vulnerable to the intense pressures of the industry. The demands of her schedule were relentless. Wrestling on the world stage meant constant travel, grueling matches, and a lifestyle that allowed little room for rest or personal time. Amy often found herself performing night after night in different cities, barely recovering before stepping back into the ring. The physical toll was staggering. Her body bore the marks of countless matches, bruises, sprains, and injuries that sometimes required her to perform through pain. One of the most significant challenges came in the form of a severe back injury sustained during a high-profile match. A miscalculated move resulted in a hard landing that left her in excruciating pain. Though medical staff advised her to take time off, Amy chose to power through, fearing that stepping away could jeopardize her momentum. She performed with a smile, hiding the pain from fans and colleagues alike. It wasn't until the injury worsened that she was forced to take a brief hiatus, a period that brought its own set of struggles. Stepping away from the ring was emotionally difficult for Amy. Wrestling wasn't just her career. It was her identity. The break gave her time to heal physically, but it also forced her to confront feelings of insecurity and self-doubt. For someone who had always defined herself by her work ethic and accomplishments, the downtime felt like a loss of purpose. "I felt like I was letting everyone down," she later admitted. "But I also knew I had to take care of myself if I wanted to come back stronger." In addition to physical challenges, Amy faced the mental and emotional toll of life in the spotlight. The wrestling industry was a highly competitive environment, and the pressure to maintain her position at the top was immense. Every move she made, both in and out of the ring, was scrutinized by fans, critics, and the media. The constant need to prove herself, coupled with the fear of failure, created an undercurrent of anxiety that was difficult to shake. Amy also grappled with the unique challenges faced by women in professional wrestling. While the industry had made strides toward gender equality, women were still often treated as secondary attractions rather than main event performers. Amy fought tirelessly to change that perception, advocating for storylines and matches that showcased the athleticism and storytelling abilities of female wrestlers. Her advocacy wasn't always well received, and she faced pushback from colleagues and executives who were resistant to change. Behind the scenes, Amy struggled with loneliness and isolation. The demanding nature of her career made it difficult to maintain personal relationships. Her family and friends, while supportive, often felt disconnected from her life on the road. Romantic relationships were equally challenging, as trust and stability were hard to come by in an industry known for its transience. Amy found herself questioning whether the sacrifices she was making were worth the cost. Perhaps the most publicized challenge of Amy's career was her involvement in a backstage controversy that shook the wrestling world. During a heated creative meeting, Amy clashed with a high-ranking executive over the direction of her character's storyline. The disagreement escalated, and rumors of the confrontation quickly spread. The media painted her as difficult and ungrateful, labels that stuck with her despite her professionalism and dedication. The controversy was a turning point for Amy. While the negative publicity was disheartening, it also fueled her desire to prove her critics wrong. She channeled her frustrations into her performances, delivering some of the most compelling matches of her career. Her resilience in the face of adversity earned her the respect of her peers and reaffirmed her connection with her fans, many of whom admired her courage and authenticity. As the section progresses, the narrative delves deeper into Amy's personal struggles and how she navigated them. Through interviews with those closest to her, the audience gains insight into the emotional challenges she faced and the coping mechanisms she developed. Amy's story becomes a testament to the power of vulnerability, showing that even the strongest individuals have moments of doubt and struggle. The section closes with a reflective moment. Amy sitting in an empty arena after a match, looking out at the rows of seats that will soon be filled with cheering fans. It is a moment of quiet introspection, a reminder of the sacrifices she has made and the strength it takes to keep going. Despite the challenges she has faced, Amy remains determined to push forward, knowing that her story is far from over. At the apex of her career, Amy Weber became more than just a professional wrestler. She was a trailblazer, an icon, and a symbol of perseverance. The years of struggle and sacrifice culminated in a series of defining moments that cemented her place in the annals of wrestling history. Her journey, filled with triumphs and challenges, resonated deeply with fans and transformed the perception of what women could achieve in the wrestling industry. Amy's first major milestone came when she headlined a pay-per-view event, a groundbreaking achievement for a female wrestler at the time. The match was a culmination of months of build-up, with a storyline that captivated fans around the world. It was a high-stakes contest against one of the company's most established stars, with the women's championship title on the line. The build-up to the match was electric, with promotional videos, interviews, and public appearances creating a fever pitch of anticipation. The match itself was nothing short of spectacular. Amy and her opponent delivered a performance that was both technically flawless and emotionally charged. The crowd was on their feet, cheering and chanting as the two wrestlers pushed each other to their limits. In a dramatic finish that had fans on the edge of their seats, Amy emerged victorious, claiming the championship belt and etching her name in history. As she stood in the center of the ring, tears streaming down her face, the audience erupted in applause. It was a moment that transcended the wrestling world, celebrated as a victory for all women in the industry. Following this monumental win, Amy's career reached new heights. She became a mainstay in the company's programming, appearing in high-profile matches, storylines, and promotional campaigns. Her charisma and authenticity made her a fan favorite, while her in-ring abilities earned her the respect of her peers. Amy's championship reign was marked by a series of unforgettable matches, each showcasing her versatility and dedication to her craft. One of the most iconic moments of her career came during a cross-promotional event that brought together wrestlers from different organizations. Amy represented her company in a dream match against a legendary competitor from a rival promotion. The match was a clash of styles and personalities, billed as a once-in-a-lifetime encounter. The build-up was intense, with fans and critics debating who would emerge victorious. The match itself exceeded all expectations, with both wrestlers delivering a masterclass in storytelling and athleticism. Though Amy narrowly lost, her performance was hailed as one of the greatest in wrestling history, further solidifying her legacy. As Amy's star continued to rise, she became a vocal advocate for change within the industry. She used her platform to push for greater opportunities and recognition for female wrestlers, challenging outdated norms and championing equality. Her efforts led to significant changes in how women's wrestling was presented, with more focus on athleticism and storytelling rather than superficiality. Amy's advocacy extended beyond the ring, as she participated in charitable initiatives, mentorship programs, and public speaking engagements aimed at empowering women and inspiring the next generation. Amy's influence wasn't limited to her in-ring achievements. She also ventured into other areas of entertainment, appearing in movies, television shows, and commercials. Her crossover appeal brought new fans to wrestling and expanded her reach as a cultural icon. Despite her growing fame, Amy remained humble and approachable, always taking time to connect with her fans and show gratitude for their support. Her legacy was further cemented when she was inducted into the Wrestling Hall of Fame, a prestigious honor that recognized her contributions to the sport. The induction ceremony was a celebration of her career, attended by fans, colleagues, and family members who had supported her journey. In her heartfelt acceptance speech, Amy reflected on the challenges she had faced, the lessons she had learned, and the people who had inspired her along the way. She dedicated the honor to her fans, thanking them for believing in her and making her dreams possible. The section also explores the broader impact of Amy's career through interviews with wrestlers, industry insiders, and fans. The documentary highlights how Amy's journey inspired others to pursue their dreams, challenge societal norms, and strive for excellence. Her story became a beacon of hope for aspiring wrestlers, particularly women, who saw in her a role model who had broken barriers and achieved greatness. Amy's peak moments weren't just about personal achievements. They were about creating a legacy that would endure long after her career in the ring ended. She had proven that success wasn't just about winning titles or selling out arenas. It was about making a difference, leaving a mark, and paving the way for others to follow. The section concludes with a montage of Amy's greatest moments, set to a powerful soundtrack that captures the essence of her journey. From her first match to her championship victories, from her advocacy work to her Hall of Fame induction, the montage celebrates the legacy of a woman who redefined what it meant to be a wrestler, an entertainer, and a pioneer. As Amy Weber stood at the pinnacle of her career, she knew the climb had been steep, but the descent would be no less challenging. Wrestling, with its demanding schedule, physical toll, and ever-changing dynamics, is unforgiving to even the brightest stars. For Amy, the path forward was one of transition, acceptance, and rediscovery. The first signs of decline came in the form of nagging injuries. Years of high-impact matches had taken their toll on her body. Her back injury, which she had endured early in her career, resurfaced with greater intensity. Added to that were joint issues, lingering concussions, and chronic pain that no amount of therapy or rehabilitation could fully alleviate. Despite her efforts to stay in peak condition, Amy began to feel the physical limitations creeping in the wrestling world. Age and injuries are often met with brutal honesty. Younger talent was emerging, hungry for the spotlight Amy had commanded for so long. While she was still a respected figure in the industry, she found herself gradually stepping aside to make room for the next generation. This was not an easy adjustment. Wrestling had defined Amy's life for so many years that the prospect of letting go felt both alien and daunting. The transition wasn't just physical. It was emotional and psychological. Amy wrestled with feelings of inadequacy and uncertainty about her future. Wrestling wasn't just her career. It was her identity. Without it, she questioned who she was and what her purpose would be. The hardest part, she later admitted, was not stepping out of the ring but figuring out what came next. Amid these struggles, Amy faced challenges outside the ring as well. The wrestling industry, with its relentless pace and constant scrutiny, had left little time for her to nurture personal relationships. As her schedule slowed, she found herself confronting the loneliness that had been masked by her career's intensity. Rebuilding connections with family and friends became a priority, but it was a process filled with both joy and bittersweet realizations about the time she had missed. Her final years in wrestling were marked by a shift in focus. Amy transitioned into a mentorship role, using her experience to guide and inspire younger wrestlers. She became an advocate for health and wellness in the industry, sharing her own struggles and promoting the importance of self-care. Her mentorship extended beyond wrestling techniques. She offered advice on navigating the emotional highs and lows of the business, balancing personal and professional lives, and preparing for life after wrestling. One of her most notable contributions during this period was her involvement in the development of the company's women's division. Amy worked closely with creative teams and management to ensure that female wrestlers received the same opportunities and respect as their male counterparts. She fought for storylines that highlighted the athleticism, intelligence, and complexity of women in wrestling, leaving a lasting impact on the industry. Amy's final match was a highly anticipated event, billed as a celebration of her career and contributions to wrestling. The build-up was emotional, with tributes from peers, fans, and industry legends. The The match itself was a showcase of everything that made Amy a star: her athleticism, storytelling, and undeniable charisma. The arena was packed with fans chanting her name, a testament to the legacy she had built. As the final bell rang, Amy stood in the center of the ring. Overcome with emotion, she thanked the fans, her colleagues, and the industry that had shaped her life. It was a bittersweet moment, filled with pride for what she had achieved and sadness for what she was leaving behind. The crowd gave her a standing ovation, a fitting farewell to a career that had inspired millions. The section ends with Amy reflecting on her journey, sitting in her home, surrounded by memorabilia and championship belts. She looks back on the highs and lows with gratitude. "Wrestling gave me everything," she says. "It tested me, broke me, and built me into the person I am today. I wouldn't change a thing." Her acceptance of the changes in her life marked the beginning of a new chapter. Though her time in the ring had come to an end, Amy remained connected to the industry through commentary, mentorship, and advocacy. She found new ways to contribute, ensuring that her legacy continued to inspire and empower others. Amy Weber's farewell to professional wrestling was more than just the end of a career. It was the closing chapter of a transformative journey. The announcement of her retirement sent ripples through the wrestling world. Fans, colleagues, and industry insiders alike prepared to bid goodbye to a woman who had not only entertained, but also reshaped the landscape of wrestling for generations to come. Her final days in the spotlight were marked by a celebration of her legacy. The company organized a farewell tour, allowing Amy to perform in some of the most iconic arenas around the world. Each stop on the tour was a tribute to her career, with video montages, heartfelt speeches, and appearances from her peers. For Amy, these events were a mixture of joy and nostalgia. Every match, every interaction with fans, was a reminder of the bond she had built with the wrestling community. The culmination of the farewell tour was a special event dedicated entirely to Amy's career. Titled The Last Bell, it featured matches, tributes, and appearances from wrestlers past and present who had been part of her journey. The main event was Amy's final match, a tag team bout where she teamed up with a rising star she had mentored. The storyline blended the past and future, symbolizing the passing of the torch. The match itself was a masterclass in storytelling. Amy, despite her injuries and age, gave a performance that showcased her enduring skill and passion. The crowd was electric, their chants of "thank you, Amy" echoing throughout the arena. When the final bell rang and her hand was raised in victory, the arena erupted in cheers and applause. Tears streamed down Amy's face as she hugged her partner, her opponent, and the referee. It was a perfect send-off, filled with emotion and gratitude. After the match, the ring was filled with her colleagues, friends, and family who came to honor her contributions to the sport. One by one, they shared stories and memories, painting a vivid picture of the woman behind the wrestler. Amy listened, smiling through her tears, as the impact of her career was celebrated by those she had inspired and influenced. The most poignant moment of the night came when Amy took the microphone to address the audience. Her voice, steady yet emotional, carried the weight of 2 decades of memories. "This ring," she began, "has been my home, my sanctuary, and my greatest teacher. It's given me everything: joy, pain, purpose, and love. But most importantly, it's given me all of you. I'm leaving the ring, but I'll never leave this family. Thank you for letting me live my dream." As she placed her boots in the center of the ring, a traditional gesture symbolizing the end of a wrestler's career, the crowd rose to their feet, giving her a thunderous standing ovation. Amy stood there for a moment, taking in the applause and the love. Before waving a final goodbye, in the weeks following her retirement, Amy took time to reflect and recharge. Wrestling had been her life for so long that stepping away felt like entering an unfamiliar world. Yet, she found solace in the support of her family and the opportunities that lay ahead. Amy began to focus on her advocacy work, mentoring young wrestlers and promoting initiatives to support women in sports. She also pursued other passions, such as writing and speaking, sharing her story with audiences beyond the wrestling world. Amy's final moments in the documentary show her sitting by a window, overlooking a peaceful landscape. Photographs and memorabilia from her career surround her, each piece telling a story of triumph and resilience. She speaks candidly about her journey, her struggles, and her hopes for the future of wrestling. "I've always believed that success isn't about the titles you win or the records you break," she says. "It's about the lives you touch and the legacy you leave behind. If my journey has inspired even one person to chase their dreams, then it's all been worth it." The section concludes with a montage of Amy's career highlights, interspersed with clips of fans and colleagues sharing what she meant to them. As the screen fades to black, her voice echoes. The ring may be silent, but the story lives on. Amy Weber's story is not just a tale of a wrestler. It is the chronicle of a woman who defied the odds, shattered stereotypes, and inspired millions. Her journey through the world of professional wrestling left an indelible mark, not only on the industry, but on the hearts of those who followed her career. The documentary's final section opens with scenes of Amy's fans holding signs, wearing her merchandise, and sharing their favorite memories of her matches. Their words capture the essence of what Amy represented: hope, resilience, and the power to overcome adversity. From young girls aspiring to enter the ring to seasoned wrestlers who credit her as their inspiration, her impact is evident. Amy's legacy is explored through interviews with her peers and industry insiders. They speak of her as a trailblazer who pushed the boundaries of what women could achieve in wrestling. Her advocacy for equality and representation paved the way for future generations, transforming the women's division into a showcase of athleticism and storytelling. Amy didn't just open doors. One wrestler says, "She tore them off their hinges." The section delves into her post-retirement work, highlighting her mentorship of young talent and her involvement in initiatives to support the physical and mental well-being of wrestlers. Amy's focus on empowering others became a cornerstone of her legacy, whether through her workshops, speaking engagements, or one-on-one mentorships. She continued to inspire those around her to reach for greatness. Her contributions extended beyond wrestling. Amy's autobiography, a candid account of her life and career, became a bestseller, resonating with readers from all walks of life. The book detailed her struggles and triumphs, offering lessons on perseverance, self-belief, and the importance of staying true to oneself. In her words, "The ring was my stage, but my story belongs to everyone who dares to dream." The documentary also examines the cultural impact of Amy's career through archival footage and commentary. It reflects on how she challenged the traditional roles of women in wrestling and redefined what it meant to be a female athlete. Her groundbreaking matches and advocacy work are credited with inspiring a generation of wrestlers who followed in her footsteps, many of whom cite her as their reason for pursuing the sport. In a touching segment, Amy visits a local wrestling school where young hopefuls are training to make their mark in the industry. She watches from the sidelines, offering encouragement and advice. Her presence is met with awe and gratitude, a testament to the respect she commands. One of the trainees expresses what so many feel: "Because of you, I believe I can do this." As the documentary draws to a close, it returns to Amy in her quiet, reflective moments, sitting in her home, She speaks about the lessons she's learned and the legacy she hopes to leave behind. Wrestling was never just about winning for me, she says. It was about telling a story, connecting with people, and proving that you can achieve anything if you refuse to give up. The final montage is a celebration of Amy's life and career, set to an uplifting score. It features clips of her most iconic matches, heartfelt fan interactions, and moments of triumph and joy. The screen fades to black with a final message: Amy Weber, a legacy of strength, heart, and inspiration. The documentary ends with a single spotlight illuminating an empty ring. A voiceover echoes Amy's final thoughts. The ring may be silent, but the echoes of our stories will carry on forever.